bit closely.
Be in an intimate setting today.
All right.
Sorry. I can't get over that last. You saying it's an intimate setting. It's like, bam, alright, cool.
All right. So, topic for the day.
We were talking about, I think if it was either at the end of the video or after we were finished, we were talking about distributed and co-located teams. What's easier or what's best? It's kind of a broad topic, but it's a topic that we run into in the industry quite a bit. So I'll tee it up to you. If you had a preference, or your preference, distributed or co-located,
Okay. So,
where would you go?
okay, so my biggest thing is co-located.
Okay.
I am very old-fashioned. I like the face-to-face communication. I like body language. I like to see that. I like the water cooler communication that goes on. I like the fact that we're near each other. I can overhear a conversation, be able to jump in. I like that component of things. Having said that, I think I'm biased.
Yeah.
I myself don't see me in a remote setting. I don't know how effective I can be in a remote setting.
As a coach?
As a coach,
Yeah.
it's one, you're on the phone, you may be using technology today, you may be on a camera, but quality isn't good,
Yeah.
so you don't see a lot.
You do, yeah, you miss out on, at least from distributed, you miss out on like the personal interactions. Like
Yeah.
you get to, now eavesdrop is not, but you get to observe and listen in, and it gives you the opportunities. Whereas you feel like maybe from a distributed point of view, you got to be more direct, or you have to be more inquisitive as to what things are going on, or
I think you have to ask more questions.
yeah,
Potentially a language barrier could come across, right? And then you're down to how good are you on your written communication, and sometimes that doesn't translate well. Saying something versus typing it in, it could be a joke, and that comes across as being attacked.
that never gets misinterpreted.
No,
I don't know what you're
that all
talking
the time
about.
happened to me. The innovation that we have today with all the emoticons that helps.
Yeah,
You can always put a smiley face on something, and it makes it better.
you jerk, smiley face.
That's right. They always make it better. But I think personally, for me, if there is a choice, I would go co-located face-to-face.
Now,
I know you've had experience before. You've had experience with distributed teams, and you said it was one of your best teams ever.
actually, yeah, there was a distributed team at the place I was at prior, but I think a lot of it had to do with how we kicked the team off.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we knew that we were distributed. It was actually a combination. It was really weird. We have a couple folks who were co-located at the office, and then we had a few that were distributed. That was the one weakness I'd say that was part of that team.
Okay.
And we could go into that when you have a mixed bag later. But the way that we kicked the team off, I thought was awesome. And this is, if you have no choice but to do distributed teams, this is the way to do it. They brought in everyone,
Okay.
whether they were in the West Coast or abroad, brought them in together for a week. And we sat all together in a room, and we did our orientation. We did this is the technology, this is the stack, this is Agile, this is the practices. We talked about our communication standards, like what are we going to use to talk to each other? Are we going to use Slack? Are we going to be on the video?
But this is, you brought them in co-located.
You're
first,
right. You're
and
right.
kicked them off that way.
We kicked them off by bringing all the faces together,
Okay.
and then we broke apart, and everybody
Okay.
went to their locations.
Okay.
We only got together one more time after that, which was the client meeting. But the one thing that came out of that, which is why I still believe that a distributed team can work, even though it doesn't have the advantages of all the personal interactions, is that they agreed upon the norms, which is whenever we need to talk about something, we're going to use a technology to go face-to-face video chat. We avoided any time that we had correspondence via email or Slack, things just went haywire.
So I mean, how do you work around like Now you have to decide, right? I'm going to say something, and I don't know if it's valuable to the team or is it going to be one-on-one. So now you got to decide, are you going to put it on a blast channel where you blast your message across everybody and hopefully somebody catch it, or are you going to do a private message? And I see that as potentially things getting missed.
I mean, I'd say that's definitely a possibility. But I mean, I would almost say it's no different than you can have a co-located team that may not be having those conversations.
That's true.
And I've seen folks where they're literally sitting back to back and they're just posting on a chat room, and it gets missed, and it's like,
why didn't you still
you're right there?
Yeah. Same problems. Yeah.
I think it goes to establishing whether you're distributed or co-located. It's establishing a norm. How are we going to communicate with each other? I do agree with you. The face-to-face is absolutely important. But you can achieve the face-to-face whether you're co-located or you're distributed. However, when you're distributed, it's more deliberate. Because you do have to have the, we should probably, jump in my room or jump in this room kind of deal. You have to be more deliberate about it.
And one of the things that I've noticed is that when distributed teams, when they succeed, is when they are aware of that, right? They're aware that the problem's going to exist if they don't communicate right, and they intentionally go out of their way to put in place the process and tools to help them, enable them to do that. And part of it feels like they sign on to it. They know what they're going to be, the challenges are. They sign on to do those things that way. And that seems to work, right?
And if you've got the support structure around it to recognize when things fail, like I had retrospectives where one of the distributed guys was like, y'all never brought me into the loop. I was lost. What's going on? And it was discussed, and it was always happening within 2 weeks if something came up, as opposed to it never really gets discussed. So you have to have that kind of constant touch points between the team.
So this is one of those things. I think a part of it feels like it's an age thing, right? If you're a younger generation, you're more in tune with technologies, therefore you're more distributed. Right. You can work remotely. Like today, I look at my daughter as she plays games at home. She's not playing by herself. She's playing with friends on the internet. And she's talking on the phone. Right? She is remote, but they're playing together as one.
But they're still
connected. Right? And then for us, for me, and I'm not used to that. I have to be face to face. So there is kind of almost a generation gap, maybe.
It kind of is. I mean, if you look at where things are going nowadays, you've got telecommuting, which is a big thing in the industry. Jobs are going global, so I mean, you do have that out there. Maybe it is a generational thing where it's becoming more accepted nowadays than it did back in the day when we didn't have a lot of the technologies. I mean, it was really difficult if you had an overseas team. Other than getting on, a conference phone and talking to each other, you didn't have some of the things that we've got where it's like I could get on a video and I could talk to you and we can have the same interactions.
So we talk about how there's potential benefit of co-located teams, right?
Yeah.
Are there any downside, more problems that we have with co-located? So the reason I brought it up is because if we are close to each other, if we're constantly in each other's space, we have this conflict naturally. We'll have that.
It's human nature.
Human nature, right? So if we're not sitting next to each other. I mean, the issues about food, smell, habits, that doesn't come up. It's my own space. You're not gonna bother me because I don't see you, I don't smell you. You're on the other side. Or you don't smell me, and I'm fine.
Or I like to just come in and be heads down and code. And I don't want to hear with the noise that's going on around me. Those are the things that I've heard in the past that are just downsides. But yeah, I think you do have a little bit of that dynamic that goes on when you've got a bunch of people in there, a lot of opinions, a lot of voices. If you're introverted, it might be really uncomfortable to be in a big group setting,
especially open space.
In an open space, So I mean, this is the case where I would almost say I would prefer distributed if I were an engineer. Because when you're distributed, you get more focus time. like the interrupters that you would have in an open space, or what I would see as an interrupter, aren't really as prevalent when I'm sitting at home or sitting in a space that I can control and I'm just focused in, heads down, coding. So an engineer, I think it's easier and distributed to get into the flow and produce.
So which environment works best for Agile? I mean, we talk about the pros and cons of each of those things, right? Touch a little bit on that. Which one works best for Agile environment? So for me, again, I'm biased here.
Yeah.
So I'm co-located. I want Agile face-to-face. I see that. But most places that adopt Agile doesn't have the luxury of going co-located.
Yeah. I would say two things. If everybody is co-located, thumbs up.
Okay.
If everyone is distributed, thumbs up too. It's when you have a mixed bag that things fall apart. And here's the reason why. Because you're trying to cater to both environments. Because let's say you've got a group of 3 that are co-located in the same spot and you've got 5 that are distributed. Guess what? These 3 are getting the benefits of talking to each other and sharing and turning around and having that conversation. These guys now become like they're on an island. And they miss out on what's going on over here.
So is it true? It feels sometimes that when you do distributed and you're doing Agile, you tend to have more process in place to compensate for the lack in communication compared to face-to-face. So that almost pushes you to be less agile.
Yeah, you're right, because you have to have those norms, which is it's a structure. It's a method of communication, like where you've got to talk to each other this way, or it's protocol. Let's call it that way.
Protocol.
It's protocol. I'm going to make a controversial claim here say I honestly believe that fully distributed, you can have a very effective Agile team. And the reason why is because one of the complaints that I've heard from co-located teams or teams in open spaces is interruptions and unnecessary meetings.
Yes.
When you're distributed, you have to be very deliberate about every interruption and every action that you take.
But people can tune it off, right? There's something they can say, I'm going to turn it off.
Right.
And you're fine.
Yeah, but I mean, if you get invited to a meeting, you still have to log on to it, and et cetera, as opposed to when you're distributed, you can really lock yourself down and say, unless I have to have a valuable conversation, I'm going to be heads down. Now, my opportunity to really collaborate with my teammates is in those ad hoc video meetings. I would suggest you have to have video, but then the only meetings that you're really worried about or that are really necessary become your Agile ceremonies. So you don't have a lot of these weird things, company meetings and that pop up when you're here. It's like, I might as well go to that.
Yeah.
You're more focused. Yeah. And I've seen that. But you do lose that interaction. You kind of lose that camaraderie that you build by being sitting in that same space.
So at the end of the day, I think the answer is it depends.
Yeah.
Right?
It's that classic MBA answer. You're right, but it depends.
So it's the process, people, tools, how they all come together, what do you have access to, what kind of tools do you have, what kind of process you have in place, what kind of people that you have in place, whether they can adapt it to it or not. So that's kind of interesting to watch, right?
Oh, look, what do we got here?
Figured I would come over here so you guys sitting here. Peanut butter chocolate chip.
Dude.
Oh.
I can't, man. But it would be an insult if I didn't. So don't mind if I do.
You take it, then I can say no.
That is Paul, by the way.
That is Paul.
You're going to be in our weekly installment.
Sweet.
Thank you, Paul.
Oh my, this is good.
So that's a benefit of working co-located. You get cookies.
That is true. You miss out on the goodies, and Paul can cook up. I'm going to eat this on the camera.
So I think that's a good ending for us. Is that it depends. I don't have the full answer. I think it depends on the tools you have, the people that you have. I've seen cases where it failed. I've seen cases where it had succeeded.
I think if we were to give one word of advice, if you were kicking off a distributed or even a co-located team, it's going back to Coburn's little pair or diamond, the collaborate part. Is establish your method of collaboration and protect it and adhere to it. And that is the key.
Oh, you mean self-organize, figure out what works for your team?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Whether you're co-located or distributed, figure out what it is. You know what? You might say video, you may say chat, whatever. How are you gonna communicate with each other and almost make it seem like we can go back and forth? And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think that if we were to go around out there, people would say co-located, distributed, mixed. I think everybody has a different opinion, but I think there's got to be a recipe out there that people have used
But the
for me to be
recipe
successful.
it depends. And that's where I'm going. I think that's where I keep falling back to. I can't seem to find that it's like if you do X, Y, and Z, you're guaranteed for success. I think there's not one. But at the end of the day, the basic is collaboration.
Yeah. If anybody sells you that they've got the silver bullet to distributed and co-located, I would be wary of
Because they
that.
can have a co-located team and they don't collaborate, and that's useless.
Seen it. I've actually been part of one of those teams. Everybody goes back to their offices. It's like, oh, we're good.
All right, folks. We are in downtown Cary. What do you say?
Beautiful downtown
Beautiful
Cary.
downtown Cary. And it is hot. He's got a cookie in his hand.
I'm going to finish this thing. This
And I'm
delicious.
just happy because he's eating cookies. So thank you for watching. If you have been following us, continue to subscribe and watch and follow us. Put a comment out there. Let us know how you feel. Just drop us a comment to let us know that you are listening. That'll be awesome too.
Absolutely.
Sign off.
This is C-Rod.
And this is Master Asian Call. Thank you.
Till the next time.